Manchester United are almost there. Champions League football is basically all but settled. Manchester United are beating Brentford in what was an interesting game. It was not perfect by any means, but they got the job done and they're very, very close to making it to the Champions League. Now, I will say that this was one of their best starts I've seen in such a long time, but also you could just see that defensively they're not yet there. But Michael Carrick is doing the job he's supposed to do. He came in and he has taken Manchester United as high as he can possibly take them. And I think fantastic for him in terms of what he has done for them. The question still remains, does he become the next manager? I still think we need to sit down and think about it. I'm not entirely sure he should be or he should not be. I think there needs to be some clear heads in terms of what to do because let's be honest, as much as we're watching Manchester United play the way they're playing now, it is going to be completely different when you're playing 2 games a week. So you're also going to be thinking about how you're playing against some of the best teams in the world. Against PSG, can you play this way? Against Bayern Munich, can you play this way? Against Real Madrid, can you play this way? Against Barcelona, can you play this way? So these are the things that you need to think about. But right now, in this moment, I think it will be very, very, unfair to say that Michael Carrick is not doing what he has to do. But the question is this the way forward? That is exactly why I think Manchester United fans need to think about whether or not this guy is the right guy or not. Let's look at the big picture. First and foremost, for this game, I think I just have to commend Senne Lammens. I think when you've tasted something very annoying or something that's very, not up to standards, and then you see an upgrade, it never ever can feel the same again. You always know what you've come from and what you now have. In terms of Senne Lammens, you are just watching a goalkeeper who's completely assured and can be relied on, can be banked on. You know for a fact that this guy is not going to make any silly errors. Now, when you put that in contrast to how Andre Onana was playing, you can just say for a fact that, man, this is such a great upgrade. Now, when you look at how Onana was and is a good shot stopper, but you know he's going to make some mistakes here and there. You know he's going to give you some jittery moments. And in this game today, I think when you look at how Lammens played, I think he was fantastic. Everything he needed to do, he did. He made some brilliant saves in the first half, especially because Brentford really could have equalized after the first 15 minutes. Manchester United dominated in the first 15 minutes, but Brentford took over the game in the next few minutes before the second half started. They were on top, and then Lammens had to make some really good saves. And even in the second half, when there were some crosses that Brentford made, you could just see how assured he was in terms of how he was able to, get the crosses, make sure he was getting to the saves he needed to make, intercepting crosses as well. That's one thing I do commend him for. I don't know if people say it as much as I say it, but Senne Lammens is really, really good at claiming crosses. When you're just expecting that, oh my goodness, will the defenders be able to keep their heads and make sure that they block the cross that's coming in? You end up seeing that Lammens is just there with his hands and he just gathers it and just completely calms everything down. So I do have to say that in terms of calmness, assurance, and just trust, Lammens has done an amazing job for Manchester United. And really and truly, if he was not in goal today, I'm not entirely sure if Manchester United would have won the game today. I think the goal that Brentford scored was just a beautiful goal, and there's not much he could do about it. He couldn't really do anything because he was still trying to set himself to make the save. But it was a fantastic goal, so I don't even put any blame on him. But we have to talk about how good Lammens has been for Manchester United since he came in. Now let's talk about Michael Carrick in general. I have to say that right now I see that he's doing the job right. In terms of the results, he's getting the results. In terms of the performances, that's where I always have questions. I'm not sure the performances have been good enough. I'm not sure, you're looking at the best Manchester United side. Now, you have to be fair to him and say that right now, do they have the best players for that? Probably not. Casemiro is a very, very good player, and he showed his quality today. But you're not going to see Casemiro there next season. He's not going to be around. And this was one of Casemiro's, more assured games. There's some games where he will get a silly yellow card or do something that makes you know that, oh yeah, this guy's an unk. He's not a spring chicken anymore. He's more of an older person, and you can see that he's not at his best anymore. So, obviously they're going to have to replace him. You're going to have certain players who are doing certain things. So I do think that we need to be fair to Carrick a bit to say that he doesn't have the best team yet. I still do think that in terms of the football I'm watching, these players are very good, and he's been able to bring out the best in them recently. But I still think there needs to be consideration. I'm not saying he should not be the manager. I'm just saying that he should not be the only person being looked at. You don't put all your eggs in one basket. If there's a nicer and better basket somewhere else, why don't you check out that basket? That's all I'm saying. Like, but in terms of doing the job he's come for, which is to take Manchester United as high as he can possibly take them and get the results, he has done a fantastic job. The fact that literally, I think all they need is 1 point or 2 points to get into the Champions League. So literally, like, they could win their next game. Hopefully not, because it's against my team, Liverpool. If they win one game, they're basically in the Champions League next season. So that is exactly what you need to do. Imagine qualifying for the Champions League with games to spare, 3 games to spare, 2 games to spare, 1 game to spare. You know, that is always a good thing. So I think we have to commend Michael Carrick for the job he's done. But I do not think Manchester United fans should rush and say this is the guy. That's all I'm trying to say. I just think there should be some level-headed, discussions in terms of choosing if this is the right guy for the future project or not. Because all of a sudden, you're not going to be playing only 40 games in a season. You're going to play the Champions League. You're going to play FA Cup, Carabao Cup. And you don't want to be going out in the first round. So if you don't go out in the first round, you have a lot more matches to play. There's a chance of you playing up to 50, 60 games in a season. Can these Manchester United players with these tactics do it for the long run? That is where the question is. So I do think that we need to really think about it properly. But in terms of the Champions League race, like I said, there's full control. Manchester United are in the driver's seat. They've basically done everything they need to do, and it's just a point or 2 or 3. I mean, they just need to win one game, and that's the end. So I do think that, like I said, when you look at the football they're playing, it is a lot better. Compared to what we're watching with Amorim in terms of how they were playing. It just did not look very bright. It didn't look energetic. And you have to say that in terms of when it comes to counters and everything, that is where we see Manchester United at their best. Which kind of reminds me a bit of watching Ole Gunnar Solskjær, because Solskjær, was able to bring the right results, wins here and there, but was it sustainable? Not necessarily, and that's why he got fired. So the question is, what we're watching now with Michael Carrick, how much difference is it from what we're watching with Ole Gunnar Solskjær? That's where the question is. So I think, like I said, he saved the season from United. He has done what he needs to do. He has gotten the Champions League spot, but is he the one who's going to build the future team for Manchester United? That is where the question is. Like I said, they were volatile today in terms of how they played. Really and truly, if Lammens was not there, it could have been a very different scoreline. If Igor Thiago had his shooting boots today, it could have been a very different scoreline. So they're winning games, like I said, but they're not necessarily dominating. They're not really showing and putting a stamp on the game. And that's one thing I'm worried about in terms of Manchester United. But altogether, he's doing what he has to do. But we also have to talk quickly before I end this video on Bruno Fernandes. Bruno Fernandes now has 19 Premier League assists, and he has 4 games to break the record, or at least equal the record. Sometimes it feels like whenever you're going for that record, you just stop at 19 and that's the end. But Bruno has 4 games to try and equal the record and possibly break it. Now, I do have to say that we have to talk about how good he's been. I think it's absolutely ridiculous that he wasn't playing as a number 10 when Ruben Amorim was there. I could not understand it for the life of me, how you have a player as good as this not playing in his best position. So it's very good that he's been able to get into his position and play the football he can play and show his quality. I do think that it's very possible for him to break the record. Let me know what you think. Do you think he will? But, I think it would be nice to just watch it because he's been fantastic. Easily. And I don't care what anybody wants to tell me, because I've heard some arguments that Bruno is not the best number 10 in the league right now. Come on, guys. Who is better than him? Who is generally better than Bruno Fernandes as a number 10 right now in the Premier League? There's really nobody. In terms of form, in terms of output, in this moment, Bruno is definitely the best number 10 in the league. So, should be very interesting to see if he actually ends up equaling the record or breaking the record, as long as he stays fit and as long as people are ready to finish. Like Sesko's finish today was fantastic. He's probably going to break that record. So it should be interesting to see. We'll have to watch and see if he does it. But, I wouldn't mind if he does. I don't really mind if he doesn't as well, but it should be interesting to see. But that's it for this video. Let me know what you think about United in general. Are these, positive signs? Are you worried as well? Do you think everything is fine? Do you think Carrick should go on and be the next coach? And if he is, what are the kind of signings you want to see? Because the truth is, Manchester United surely need new signings next season. It is all right now, getting the results, but this is not the team that's going to play in 4 competitions and play at their best. I think there need to be improvements made to the team. But let me know what you think in the comments. If you've gotten this far, please make sure you like the video, share it with a friend. We are literally, maybe when you're watching this, we would have gotten to 500 subscribers, but we're close to 500. And if we're already on 500 and you're watching this, then we're close to 600. So I appreciate if you watching right now could subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Thank you for watching this far, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Cheers.